Determined to keep a close pre-election eye on Climate 200 and their convener, Simon Holmes of Court. Slowly but surely, we're seeing the so-called independent candidates he's bankrolling reveal themselves as former Labor Party members or outright haters of the Morrison government. And I've already told you about how Holmes of Court left climate warrior and bankrupt Michael Staindl high and dry after his case against the Treasurer Josh Frydenberg over citizenship, which collapsed in the federal court. At one time, Holmes of Court was attending the actual hearings. He was there telling his followers about it, offering moral support. Next minute, when Staindl was left with a big legal bill, he's nowhere to be seen, despite being easily able to pay at least some of that bill. But maybe his support for political risk takers is just skin deep, maybe. Those running as the voices of candidates at the next federal election might discover that the hard way. We will see. But I mentioned last week that we'd put in a request for him to be interviewed here, and it was quickly declined. Well, one of my regular panellists, Prue McSween, asked the same question during the week, during a conversation with Simon, and we'll talk about that in just a short moment. But I thought it was important to remind those who might be considering voting for his selected candidates how this bloke reacts when someone has a different view to his on the cost of going green. Now, bear in mind, Holmes of Court invests heavily in wind and solar technology. So when an alternative view is mounted against his policies, well, it gets personal for him. And that's where he's invested his money, of course. So maybe it comes as no surprise to anyone that when a highly regarded economist conducted economic modelling on Labor's climate policy just before the last election, Holmes of Court went ballistic. The managing director and chairman of BA Economics at the time, Brian Fisher, had calculated that Labor's climate promises would cost $53 billion. Well, Holmes of Court got on Twitter, suggested that the media should send a camera around to his offices, Fisher that is, and linking his home address. He posted a photograph of the Fisher home and the link to the address itself. That's his family home, which for mine constitutes crossing the line big time. Well, his home was vandalised, Fisher's. The porch and front wall was egged. Holmes of Court did remove the tweet and he tweeted a message critical of the vandalism. Fisher was stunned and he told The Australian at the time it appeared extremely difficult to have rational economic debate about climate change in today's political environment. He says his family felt disturbed by what occurred and he felt that, I'm serious, he said, having second thoughts about whether I'll ever do this modelling again. It is hopeless. Well, it worked. I haven't found anything that Fisher has done since which resembles what he did in 2019 on climate. So intimidation and the release of personal information to the public prior to an election is an effective tactic for Simon Holmes of Court. He's proven that. So a word of warning to all those Conservatives who might face Simon's voices of candidates at the upcoming election. Be very careful about using facts to destroy his version of a green world, because as Holmes of Court has shown, he might out your personal family address, which could lead to any kind of intimidation or vandalism. Maybe Simon's employed one of those clever reputation management IT gurus too, to reduce the likelihood of internet users finding stories on that incident, because it's not easy to find. He intimidates others who disagree with him, but hides his own public failings. And there are people who want to stand next to someone like that at this election. Wow.